that he sees us and we're going.
Is that live thing in my face, or are we good?
Yeah, I think you're good. You're good. You're good. It's people don't see that.
Oh, all right.
We see that. We see that.
Oh,
We're good.
Oh, got the thumbs up from Big Swiss. What's up? Welcome to 520 Collective. You know what it is? Go to 520collective.com for all the good stuff that we have going, including my guy Big Swiss and his show, The Process. You can watch those videos at 520collective.com. You can also join our newsletter. Make sure to do that. We just released our first premium member exclusive content today. So
exclusive.
Right, man? The Rewind series, where we take a look at important albums in Christian rap history. So we started with Sivion's Spring of the Songbird. So go on there, become a premium member. You'll also be a producer of the 520 Club show. So do that. If you're on YouTube, well, you can see the process on YouTube, but you also need to subscribe. What else do they do on YouTube?
Likes.
They like,
comments,
they comment, and ring bells and play games. I don't know.
All of the above.
All the above. And if you're on, I still call it Twitter. If you're on Elon's app, though, make sure you follow us and repost or retweet or whatever it's called now at 520_co. Do all that stuff for us, man. Like, it's huge. And we got to give a shout out real quick to the sponsor of this. Don't let me hide it now. Come on now. There we go. Sponsor of this interview, our guys, as always, at the Bookkeeper 24/7. Go to tbk247.com to check out all their amazing content. They got plenty of it to keep you busy, man. So make sure you go over there, support them. They're awesome. tbk247.com. So like I said, guys, this is 520 Collective. Eric Boston. I'm here with my guy, Big Swiss. Big Swiss, say hi to the people. Oh, I didn't hear you. Did you actually say something? Uh-oh, he muted himself.
I muted it because my dog was barking.
I caught him.
Hi, people.
Hi, people.
I'm excited to be here.
Yo, Swiss, your dog sound as big as you, bro.
She's not, though. She's like she's big when she jumps up on my chest. She's like long, but she's not like a big dog.
No?
I have one dog we call her Meatloaf, and we call her Chonky because she's thick, but she's like stocky. And then the other one's long and lean. So we got two dogs. But one dog never barks, but this one, the one's barking now, she barks all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, man. And Swiss, we're here to talk about new music with our guy YP, aka Young Paul, the second stream of the year, man. Look at you.
We here.
Yeah, this guy keeps releasing music.
I mean,
chopper.
Like no other. And then Wander Beats is in the house as well. How you doing, sir?
What's going on?
You know, man, we're here to talk about this new album, Hector, right? Yep. So, man, there's a couple places we could start, YP. I think. So one thing that's different since the last time you were here, right, is the whole Amplify situation.
Yeah.
Right? Can we talk about that for just a minute, man? So this is actually the first release, right, with RMG Amplify.
Yeah. This is the first release with RMG Amplify. Shout out to my guy Doc Watson, man, and the whole RMG Amplify team, man.
So talk about that just a little bit, man. How did that all play out? How did that come to be for them to get YP on the roster?
Word. So before I get into that real quick, if somebody wants to, this is live, right? Somebody could watch this live, right? Somebody can tune in.
Someone is watching it live right now, it says.
So how do they get on? Do they got to go to 520.com?
They go YouTube.
520 YouTube?
Yep.
Yo, Jay, if you go to 520 YouTube, so on YouTube, 520, and go to the live option, you can see it. All right, so my bad, fellas. Just want to put my guy on, man. He's sitting here with me, so I want to, hear what you guys are asking because you can't really hear what's going on in the headphones. but yeah,
tell him to leave some comments too.
Yo, Jay, leave comments and all that. So yeah, man. Shout out to my guy Doc Watson. We've been able to build a relationship. These last couple of months, I want to say. I want to say 5 to 6 months we've been building. And yo, keep it real. I had this album sitting on ice. We knew we had something special, so I didn't want to just put it out like I did any other project. And I started shopping the album around, and there were a couple of other labels that were interested, uh, but they wanted me to wait an extra year because they had to, rotate their artists that they had on the lineup already, and they were like, "Look, we want to bring you on. The project is special. We heard it. The thing is, you would have to probably wait another year, only because it wouldn't be fair for the artists that are already on the roster that got stuff about to come out." And I appreciated the fact that they was willing to work with me, but I had to go a different direction. And one of my bros was like, "Yo, why don't you holler at Doc? They see if they got room over there at RMG." And I'm like, "Man, I don't know. I don't know if I'll fit on that roster, man." and so I'm like, you know what? Why not? I felt like, you know, I was just thinking about it, and I was just like, yo, did I exercise all my options before I go and release this project? So I emailed Doc directly, and he got back to me. I want to say in like an hour, and was like, "Yo, we're interested."
Oh wow.
And the rest was history. We got on the phone, we talked a little bit, and then we started talking about contracts and deals and what that would look like. And so we went back and forth for about a week with the contract, just looking things over, making sure everything was right. And man, you know, I want to say we were on the phone Monday, and by Friday I signed. Uh, and yeah, the rest is history. And then I made it clear to them, like, look, I don't want to wait too long. I got this album. I want to put it out. I've been had it stashed for about a year now, and Doc was really cool about it. The only thing is, I wanted to put this album out with no singles, only because, as you guys heard, I feel like it is an autobiography album from track 1 to 11, and so I felt like if you hear any of these records outside of the body of work, outside of the project, you're not gonna get the full impact of it. But Doc being more experienced than I am and working with artists that are successful, I kind of, you know, submitted to what he was asking me to do. It wasn't like he was like, "You got to do this." He was like, "Yo, I think, you know, just give us a chance to at least work a single, and then we can put the album out." And I was like, "I bet." And so, we put out The Chase, shot a video to it, and then, the rest was history. The album came out August 4th, the weekend of my birthday, and I'm just excited that it's out right now.
Yeah, man. So RMG Amplify, it's different than regular RMG label, right? I mean, can you kind of share with us like how it's a little bit different with being on Amplify compared to like the main?
RMG, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I actually found that out as well as in the process of signing and stuff, that there was a difference. So RMG, to my understanding, is Derek Minor Cannon, and I think I forget who the third artist is, and Doc, right? And then RMG Amplify, you got all the rest of the artists that you guys may be aware of. Like one artist that stood out to me is because my wife is a fan of her, V Rose. Shout out to this. Never spoke to her, never really, but I know she's on the roster. I know John Keefe is on the roster. Propaganda and those guys. Thizzle. Yeah. So there's a couple brothers on the squad that are doing some things, man. Paris Chariz, am I saying this right? Paris Chariz.
Yeah, Paris Chris is on there.
Yeah, he's on there. Yeah.
Yeah, Mikey
Yeah. So
J's on there. He's a Dallas
yeah.
guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, we're obviously gonna jump, head first into the music. Before we do, I gotta ask you the one thing, man, because you already know what it is, and I know, but I'm gonna give you the chance to kind of just share the reasoning behind it. But when we're talking
Okay.
about Christian hip hop, you know what question's coming, YP. You know what? We're talking Christian
I
hip
already
hop,
know.
and we got an album with parental advisory on it, man.
Yes.
You know, I can't let it go. But we've had this conversation, and we understand each other on it. But I want
Uh huh.
people to hear it from you like I have in the past.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just talk a little bit about that, like the reasoning behind it, why you made that decision to put that, um, that logo or that graphic on there.
Yeah. Um, Number one, I think it looks dope on the cover, just from an artistic. You know what I mean? Like just from an artistic point of view, it looks fresh on the cover. I feel like without it on the cover, it just looks like a regular photo. But you throw that on there, it gives it that album feel. And then also, yeah, some of the content might be a little weighty, even though I did wash out a lot of the words that I used. A lot of the content could be weighty. You know what I mean? Like when I say I was already having sex at the age of 13. Maybe parents don't want to hit their children to know that this guy was already having sex at 13. Or,
Right.
when I talk about my man, 12 years old was really selling dope. I don't know if the parents are cool with their kids knowing that there was a 12-year-old already selling dope. I don't know. So there's a lot of stuff, a lot of talking about stuff in ounces and violent crimes and all of that stuff. So I felt it was only right. This was all based on a true story, so it was only right that that was on there, just to give parents the heads up. Like, this ain't your regular Christian project. You know what I mean? Like, this is hip hop. This is gonna be raw. It's gonna be explicit. It's gonna be weighty. We're gonna talk about some things. So
Yeah,
yeah,
man. And a couple of follow-up questions on that I know we've had, like, again, have had the conversation before, so I kind of know, but I
yeah,
think it's good for the people listening to be able to
yeah.
be part of that as well. Is that,
Hmm.
when you do make that choice to have it on, and I get that choice based on
Yeah,
what you just said, right? Uh, the one thing that you got to deal with as an artist, though,
hmm,
is the common just perception of that graphic, of that logo, right, or of that
right,
warning.
right. Yep.
What people automatically associate it with, and it's goes beyond like what you're saying, right? It's typically associated with very adult language,
Yeah.
to say the least. So, like, was there ever a point where it was like, man, do I actually use that because of what people attach that to,
Yeah,
and will
yeah, yeah.
will they assume that that's what I'm doing here?
Yeah, right. You know what, Eric? I'm gonna be honest with you. Well, first of all, I don't just have a Christian
Mhm.
audience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got guys, and women that are not really per se Christian or whatever, that rock with my music. And to them, it's nothing. It's just another cover. You know what I
Right.
mean? Another dope cover with that on there. And then also, I don't. I mean, obviously the thoughts come. I already know the Christian community gonna have an issue with this, but I don't. If I played by those rules, then I'll box myself in. I gotta go with what I believe is true to my art. You know what I'm saying, and what I think is gonna be dope and look dope, and what I see and what I envision. You know what I'm saying, and then we could cross that bridge when we get there. That's what interviews are for. That's what we could talk about these things, and but I also do try to keep my Christian audience into consideration, which is why I even try to wash a lot of these words. You know what I mean? And yeah, I just if I do take into account the space and the community to an extent. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But if it starts compromising my art and I'm not being true to my art, you know what I mean? Then I feel like I'm not giving the people everything that I could give them. That comes, genuinely from me. I feel like God gave us all a unique calling, and I feel like in this space, this is what I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, for
And
sure.
and if I could make a quick comment about those choices. I mean, if you listen to some of the songs like Party on 38th, um, that particular song, there's a certain emotion that it's almost like acting in a movie. Like there's certain emotions you can't really do, um, or you can't really express the emotion. For instance, like in a movie like Goodfellas, right?
You watching?
Imagine Joe Pesci doing that same emotion in a Disney movie. You can't. It would be out of context.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that same idea, is where it's like within the context of the story that he's trying to portray, there's a certain raw emotion that has to be believable. And watching YP record it, when he goes back to those stories, he puts himself there. It's almost like method acting, and he's there. He's in the story, and he's trying to tell the story as authentic as he could. And that's why certain choices of words. That's why it happens. But these are choices that I made. Obviously they're made on purpose because of the story, not because of something that he's particularly doing as someone on an everyday basis. He's actually doing this because in order to tell the authenticity of the story, he has to put himself in that place and be there, and that's why those things come out. Does that make
Oh
sense?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like I said, YP, you and I have had this conversation in the past, and I respect your stance on that. I thought this would just be a good opportunity for us to let a wider audience hear that,
No, for sure.
from you. So,
For sure. For
but
sure.
Big Swiss, man, I want to holler at you, man, because one of the very first things that always catches any music listener's attention, I believe, is indeed that cover art, that track list, getting that information even before you hear anything, man. So what caught your attention from the first time you saw this artwork on the announcement of the record, and what were you looking forward to hearing based on the visuals that you saw? And hey, what up to the bookkeeper hanging out with us here?
Yo, shout out to my man Daryl. Word up. That's my guy right there.
Yeah, man.
Well, I think the first thing that stuck out to me was that it was called Hector. And so I just was able to make a lot of assumptions that it would probably be autobiographical based off of it. And so that's what I saw. And then just I'm looking at my little note sheet that I made. And I liked how all the eyes are redded out. Except for you. And so I'm guessing like this is a photo from like high school, or I don't even know, but I don't know. It just kind of it did catch my eye. I like the kind of sepia wash on it. It looked really good. But yeah, I think for me, one, you've been doing a lot of EPs for like the last 3 or 4 releases have been EPs, and so this was your first full length that I've heard in the last since what was the one with I can't remember the name of the record with the skull.
Oh, Beautiful Chaos.
Beautiful Chaos, thank you. And so I was kind of thinking like, oh, is this going to go back to more of a Beautiful Chaos, or is this going to stick in the realm of like Guillotines on the East, and have that flavor? And it did, but it was just a lot more story driven, and yeah, like you said, I mean, you and I were talking 2 weeks ago about, you were asking me what I thought about the lyricism. I'm like, I'm not concerned about the lyricism. I'm concerned about the storytelling, because it's a story-driven album, and I think you hit it in spades, man. It was just a really fun listen. I did a review on this album. This was the first time I actually recorded myself doing my process for reviewing an album. I never have recorded it before, and so I recorded it and chopped it up and released that. But it was kind of fun. If you watch the whole 4-hour version of me listening to it, there's several times where I'm like, oh snap, this connects back to this song, and this and I'm like picking up on it as I'm going through it. And so yeah, man, this is such a good work. And the fact that it came out on your birthday weekend, I was like, man, it's kind of cool that like there's just a lot of personality and like depth to it. So I loved it, man.
Yeah, and it was a contrast from Guillotines for sure.
Yeah, bro, Eric, real quick, I just want to shout out Big Swiss, because that breakdown was phenomenal, man. I just want to say that. If you haven't heard that breakdown, man, go back and watch it. Swiss, what's your channel? Big
Swiss CHH,
right?
yeah.
Big Swiss CHH, man. He does a great job, not just with my project, but with so many other dope projects that are coming out. He just does a phenomenal job of like really unpackaging the projects, and he pretty much is spot on with these things.
I'm a nerd, man. I like to nerd out on it.
Well, appreciate you, bro.
So stylistically, YP,
Yeah,
like we
yeah,
were saying, so you had the two Guillotines EPs that were very successful.
yeah.
How did you like? Did you worry in any way about, okay, is this going to be too different coming off of that success? Or I feel like it was a very needed approach from you, especially as kind of your debut with Amplify.
Yo, that's a great question, E. I ain't gonna hold you. Absolutely. I was like, man, I'll be having conversations. I drive Wanda crazy, my boy C4 crazy, because I'm like, yo, man, I ain't gonna hold you. Like with this guillotine stuff, man, people are really rocking with us, and me and Commissioner do a great job of just bringing the bars to the forefront and keeping it raw and gritty. And gritty CHH is really buzzing right now too, and we kind of like the face of that. You know what I'm saying? Some of me, C4. Commissioner, you know what I'm saying, Pride EQ, you know what I mean? And so it's like, man, I want to keep this flow, I want to keep this going, you know what I mean? So I'm asking my guys, I'm like, yo, do you think that I went too left field? And they're like, nah, bro, this is still hip hop. Like, and Swiss, that's why I asked you about the lyricism, because it's like I wanted to, and I don't think people understand how difficult it is to be able to tell a story, a real life story, and still try to keep a high level of lyricism where you're rhyming the words. So you're trying to paint a real actual story and still not
Mhm.
just be basic, but show some wordplay and double entendres and all of that stuff. So I don't think people understand how difficult that is. You know, and then that's from track 1 to 11. This ain't just the EP. This is a full body of work. And so yeah. So there was some. I was a little nervous. To answer your question, I'm like, man, I hope the gritty, fan base rock with it. The guillotine supporters rock with it. And these guys kept telling me, like, yo, C was like, man, I don't see why not. C4 was like, yo, they try to kill me for Hideous, but that's because I use auto tune. You know what I'm saying? And then Wanda was like, nah, blood, trust me, yo, they need this from you. And E, you hit it right on the head. You said it. You were like, yo, it's a much needed project from me. And Wanda would always say that before it came out, like, nah, blood, like they gotta hear this from you. Like they gotta hear your story. They gotta see that you could also do this. Yeah, they know that you could do the bar rapping and all of that stuff, but they gotta hear you get more personal and tell them about your life and give them a real like full body of work, a real album.
Yeah, man.
So after letting guys like Eric, that's why I sent it to you. I sent it to Swiss. I sent it to my bro Dayton. I sent it to a couple of brothers that I know are gonna keep it solid with me. And after hearing your critique on it, I felt so much better before release day. Cause I'm like, all right, my guys is rocking. So I feel a little better about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was talking to Luke DiMaggio yesterday.
Oh yeah, shout out to Luke.
Yeah,
Word.
shout out to Luke. I'm gonna see him in Nashville next week. I'm excited to meet him in
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
But him and I were chatting. We were actually talking about the KB album, and then he was like, "Hey, what'd you think about that YP album?" And we started chatting. And he's all, dude, it reminds me of Ghostface, and it's probably going to be in my top 5 of the year. And I'm like,
Wow.
hands down, like easily, like
Wow.
it's definitely in that
Wow,
canon.
bro.
And I think back to like talking about lyricism and like wordplay on here. What's actually I think deeper and more important for someone like me is I like good bars and I like lyricism, but you had thematic elements that ran in and out that were consistent. And so you had a lot of
Facts.
cohesion in the
Yes.
themes in each song, and you would even draw back. So like you'd have songs where like the first song you have a bar about like a lion and a carcass and like the smell of death, and then the next song you're talking about what was it you
The
had something
being tasted by demons and
yes
yeah.
wolf
The smell
yeah
of
the
abundance.
jealousy, you had lion carcass to wolf in sheepskin, snakes in the grass. Like you're doing all these like predators and like but you're like juxtaposing it with the street. Like it was just a really good thematic element that I thought if you're listening for it and you're noticing that it's running in and out.
Yeah.
And I want to get Wander involved in the convo as well, man. Like, so what were there times, like, was it hard for you? Did you have to like really convince YP that he was on point with this one? I mean, he talked about you had to get in his ear a little bit, like how hard did you have to go at him?
So at times he was doubting the some of the songs, because I had produced like 40 beats, but I only sent them the ones that I thought, because the way that I produce is I produce with an idea in my head. And so like every beat that I have that I sent them, I had already a theme, and I would call him and be like, yo, I have this thing. Have you ever been in this situation? And how did it go? And so on. Like I will ask questions, and I'll be like, yo, I got the perfect beat for that, and I send them. And then we'll meet in the studio, and then we'll chop it up in the studio, and then we'll talk about it, and you'll see him like, yo, was that good? Was that a good take? And I'm like, yo, that's a perfect take. Don't do it again. He's like, you sure? I'm like, yo, I'm sent, man. Like, trust me, bro. And excuse me, at times, like songs like Jealousy, for instance, like that was one of the songs that I had to explain. I had to explain that the beat was almost like an R&B beat to almost like a conflicting situation that he had. And I was like, yo, trust what I'm saying. It's like Biggie's Juicy, like Biggie's.
Yeah.
If you listen to Biggie's Juicy, like the beat is like, yo, like it's an R&B beat, from what's the man? I forget the name of the band that he sampled, that Diddy sampled. But like the story that Biggie's telling, in order for him to tell the story, and people be able to actually listen to the story, the beat. Like you can't tell that story without the beats. What I'm saying.
Yeah.
And,
Well, and I'll tell you this, man. It's awesome that you picked that one to talk about, because I think Jealousy might be my favorite beat on the whole project. Honestly, like to me, it's like this, like it's driven with like those East Coast drums, like that, like the percussion side of it is very East Coast, but like that melody reminded me a lot of, because I mean, when I was coming up in high school, I listened to some East Coast stuff. I was more West Coast listener. But the melody reminded me of, yeah. Well, dude, I mean, I'm in the middle of
come on,
everything.
come on, man. Oh,
dude, I mean,
God.
like Death Row, G Funk, yeah, man.
Eric, I'm from California, and even I didn't grow up listening to
dude.
West
I mean,
Coast.
dude, like
No Big
I'm
Swiss.
telling you, man, like that Warren G album, dude. I wore that bad boy.
Okay, you know what? That's fair. I did wear out some Warren G back in the day.
But
I wore out that beat. DJ Quick, so
yeah, man. And it had kind of that. You use that kind of West Coast melodic touch to it. It came across like that to me, and I think it was a nice little blend. There's just that like late night driving feel to it.
I'm a big fan. So some of my favorite producers are from the West Coast, like DJ Quick, Battle Cat, even Dre. But like those guys from the underground of hip hop, I love listening to those pockets, So when I actually produced the beat, I thought about mixing those two genres. So that's interesting that you say that, because that's kind of that's hitting it on the nail, because that's what I thought of doing, like the drums being a particular way, but the the melody and the bass line and everything, So
see, Swiss, I know some things.
I never said you didn't.
Hey, I did say I know a lot of things. I know some things. Okay, I know some things. But
hey, Eric, you got to go watch my review of this part of the song, because the guitar track had me going like, oh, this reminds me of something. And I'm like, I'm doing the sound in my voice. I yell at my wife. I'm like, babe, what's this song?
That's my favorite part.
I need to cut that out and like do like a little reel of that. But
that's my
she goes, it's
part.
Eve. And I'm like, thank you.
Oh, I think I did see that Actually, I watched some. I don't think I watched the whole thing, but I did. I remember that
Wow,
part.
bro.
Yeah,
Wow,
man.
bro. You don't watch my videos, dude?
Dude, I try, man. I try.
Too much content to watch, man. I don't blame you,
There's
bro.
Swiss content. There's all these other podcasts. I don't know, man. I try. I do what the best I can. But no. So one thing that is definitely awesome, and we've kind of been talking about it, but I want to be specific about it here, YP, is you have a concept album here, right?
Yes.
And not only do you have a concept album, but you have a concept album that's done well, start to finish, without relying on like interludes. I think that's the thing that I see a lot with concept albums, is they rely on like those skits and stuff to kind of tie
Yeah.
songs together. But yours is like
Mhm.
just flows one song into the
Mm.
other, telling the story, doesn't miss a beat, and doesn't need that extra fill in to do it.
Mm.
How was that process for you? Did you know you were doing a concept album when you started?
Oh yeah.
And I mean, was it difficult to go from dot to dot for you?
Not at all, man. You know, glory to God, because I don't want to act. He gave me this gift, man, so I don't want to act like, you know what I'm saying. But it was not hard at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just came to me. Shout out to my man Wanda, because he was the one that was like, "Yo, I feel like on this record, yo, you should talk about, yo, remember what happened on 38th Street? Yo, talk about that on this record." And then, the following record, which is called the day after or the next day. I think it's called the
Yeah,
next day, right?
the next day.
He was like, "Yo, blood, why don't you talk about the next day?" I'm like, yo,
Literally,
what was
yeah,
going
yeah.
on in your head? And I'm like, I bet. And it's almost like as soon as he tells me, words start coming to me, and I'm like, oh, I already know how I'm gonna come at this. I bet. And then I'll just sit, throughout the day. I'll sit with it, and I'm like, in my writing process, I'm like, I want to tell the story, but I also want my guys, when they hear it, to be like, oh, yo, I remember that, or like, yo, that was hard. So I'm also thinking about the listener. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
people that are gonna hear this, and go crazy when they hear it. So, it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. 1 to 11, it just came to me. I was sitting on this album for a long time, but if we were able to release it as soon as we got things recorded, this would have been done fast. But, like I said, it was a process with how we wanted to put it out and stuff like that. But it wasn't hard.
That's what's up.
Yeah,
Well,
I felt like.
oh, sorry. Go. Hey, say what
Go
you're
ahead.
gonna say, and say what you want to say there, and then let's jump into some like specifics. But I want like specific songs, and I was gonna
Yeah.
just
Oh
tell you
yeah.
specific ones. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think because of the concept album style of it and the biography nature, and I did pick up on, like, it felt like some of these songs were like 2 or 3 days apart, maybe a couple weeks apart. But one of the things that I had shot YP personally, but I'll say here on the channel, is when people talk about kind of making the sound of Christian hip hop palatable for all audiences, this is that sound. Like, you're saying, like, man, I want my friends to be able to like remember and hear it, but I also want, earlier you were saying, I also want to like be conscious of my Christian audience and my non-Christian audience. Like, this is the amalgamation of what that sound should be like, right? Like, this is like, when I hear a lot of people say, like, I just want my music to reach the next person or the next person, like, this would be the vehicle of which you would do that through, is this type of sound. And there's so much like inspiration. This is what's interesting, Wander. You did such a good job of beat selecting through here. Is you have so much influence from like Jay Dilla to West Coast styles to, I even put my Jay Dilla's Donuts record up here because use that time sample on there. I love that. I love that. Dilla's my favorite all time. And like you had like Durando like style samples in there. Like you reached in like every kind of bucket, but it all sounded like this East Coast, Bronx style, like sitting on the block listening to it like on the radio. Like it reminded me of that, and I thought that was just such a cool experience as I went through it.
Well, appreciate it. Yeah, thank you, brother. Yeah.
Yo, and Eric, just to double back to your question. I also want to say this to any artists that are listening. It wasn't easy. It wasn't hard, but that's because of how much writing I've done throughout the years, how many projects I've put out, how many mistakes that I've made, and how much critique I've gotten throughout the years that has helped me get to this point where I can go and write a whole autobiography album. You know what I'm saying? And it just come to me. But the process to get here was not easy. There was times where I would submit projects or songs and people like, that ain't it. Yo, work on this, da, da, da. And a lot of discouragement, a lot of sometimes wanting to give up a lot. So the behind the scenes, the grind is not easy at all. But because of all the projects that I put out and all the writing and mixtape after mixtape, verse after verse, feature after feature, now we come to this point where I can write these type of albums and it just comes to me. So I didn't want to disrespect the art of it at all. You know what I'm saying? But because this just doesn't happen overnight. You gotta be seasoned in this thing to be able to put a project like this together.
But isn't that how it's supposed to happen in CHHYP? Isn't stuff supposed to happen instantly and we're all famous?
Right.
Come on, man.
That's
you gotta have people discouraged out here.
I know, right? They got it twisted, man. You gotta work.
All right. Well, Swiss, pick a song, man. Where are we gonna start at? I mean, we talked about Jealousy a little bit already. I've got a few. I've got a few that I've jotted.
All right, so the one that like really caught me, like when I was going through, and I think I listened to like 4 or 5. Well, I listened to all of them like 4 or 5 times right off the bat. But the one that like popped my head open was Another Summer Lost, because I was so conflicted at how fun the beat was, but how like sad the story was in the song. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, man, I want to rock with, like, I want to dance, but like, he's not talking about dancing. You know what I'm saying?
And dude, you know what's crazy about that? Like, no joke. The first one on my list is Jealousy. The next one is Another Summer Lost.
I love
it's crazy what you guys are doing here.
I wrote on my notes.
Oh, go ahead.
Hold on. The thing that I liked about it, and this is funny, I said this in my notes, and I was like, this sounds like a companion piece to like the boom bap projects that are coming out, like Bodega or what was that other project that just dropped that was like really boom bap? Mike Wise's new album EP. He's got like this really boom bap feel. It just felt like, man, it really took me back to that Thess 1 kind of West Coast People Under the Stairs sound, block party style, and man, I just loved it. So
wow.
Well, and what's crazy about this track is that it's an interlude as well, right? It's not just a song; it's an interlude. But and what I wrote down was like, dude, you're on point from start to finish with this interlude, and I think that was like a key because you get some of these records that people call interludes that kind of fall off in parts, right? Where they lose my attention. Because I feel like if you're doing an interlude, it's something that's supposed to be pretty short and it keeps you entertained, right? It keeps you motivated to go to the next track. And dude, you killed it on that. You accomplished that on this one, man. Talk about that record a little bit.
Yeah, man. Another Summer Lost is one of my favorites too. Again, Wanda was like, yo, I think on this record you should talk about like the summertime, like what them days was like. Cause you see, me and Wanda, we go way back. You know what I mean? We didn't kick it like when we was in high school and all that, but he knew, of our squad, and we knew about them. You know what I'm saying? So he already had an idea of what the records were gonna sound like. He just had to, pitch it to me. And he was just like, yo, you remember them days. You remember them summers, man. You know what I mean? On the block and all that. I need that on this record. And yeah, that's what came to me, bro. And I knew it was an interlude. So I knew I had to keep it light and tight. You know what I'm saying? Something that was consistent with what we were doing with the theme of the project, but still make it feel like an interlude. You know what I mean? So as you
Dude,
saw,
go a
there, I
little
did.
bit. Go a little bit further with that. Like, how did you know that was going to be an interlude
Well,
and not
because
turn it into a full blown track?
well, the genius over here, Wanda was like, "Yo, this gonna be an interlude." He's like, "Yo,
Okay. Well, then
you
I
know."
should ask him that.
And yeah, man. So in the writing process, if you see, I gave it a little bridge, like a little hook, you know, to give it like that record feel, but also, you know, short where it's still like an interlude. You know what I mean? But yeah, Wanda could definitely go deeper with that.
Yeah, Wander, tell us. How did you know that it was to be an interlude?
I think um while I was working on the beat, did we lose him?
Yeah, he just dropped his phone. Just cut out. That's why
He's back.
I just saw it go whoop.
He's back.
I'm back. My bad, yo. Started pouring over here.
Oh, I hear it in the background.
wow.
I thought it was.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Nah, Jay Lear. Just take that off, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. My bad, guys.
You good?
You hear the thunder?
Yeah, we do actually.
Yeah, man. I love it. Let's go.
Papa, don't get hit with a lightning.
We got big. We have a big umbrella over us.
So when I
Nah, you feel better.
when I finished cooking the beat, I literally named it Another Summer Lost. And the idea was to, when I pitched it to him, I said, "Yo, think about like specific days where you were just hanging out in the corner and just wasting your time. Like you were just hanging out, waiting for somebody to say something to you, or the time that you spent bagging up a couple things for a couple people, and you was just like losing summer after summer after summer before you came to the Lord. Like it was a bunch of summers that you could have been doing something productive, but you was just in the corner doing all these crazy things because I was I was kind of in the same boat, at one point or another, just hanging in the stoop, waiting for somebody to come say something or whatever. And we got into a couple situations, and it's just you're losing like your time. Literally, that's what that track was about, like just losing time and losing and wasting time. And that's what Another Summer Lost really means. And so when I pitched it to him, I was like, yo, like this is gonna be the interlude between this track and this track. And yeah, man, like that's literally the process. I called him and I said, yo, this is the concept of it, and that's how that song or interlude came about.
Yeah, man. And if you guys notice in the record, I talk about a couple of brothers that we lost in the summer, and it was just like it's like the summers came. They were really fun, but a
Hmm.
lot of craziness was happening. Not that it didn't happen in the winter too, but in the summer, it's just it ran.
Let,
It's
let,
still
let, let, let's chill with that because you know what I mean.
what?
I got a concept for that, but we'll talk about
Oh, oh. Let me not spoil. Let me not spoil. Let me not spill the beans. Then let me not go there. All right.
it.
But anyway, we'll leave it there. We'll leave it for the next record.
I feel like we're getting like a tease on something that y'all are already cooking up.
Oh yeah, we got some stuff
Yeah.
already. We got some stuff, man. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
That's what's up. All right, Swiss, pick another record, man.
Who the one you'd mentioned House Party on 38th. I'd really love to hear kind of the beat change selection, the like YP, how you kind of did it like an act by act structure. Man, y'all used the Durando Didn't I Woo sound in that and like the second beat, I want to say, which I love that sample. It's such a just brings me back to like that Dap Tones era. But yeah, talk about like how did y'all construct that in that act structure, and did you always decide that it was going to have multiple beat switches in it?
Look, you want me to?
Yo, my bad. I was helping my guy get on the live stream. What was the question?
I was gonna say for House Party on 38th, you know,
Uh-huh.
it's got like a multiple beat switches. So I'd be interested. Was that always the plan from Wander Beats? And then two, YP,
Mhm.
you wrote it kind of like a play, like an act structure. And
Yep.
so did that go along? Like, I guess I want to know in the process, was there originally one straight beat that you wrote that to, or was it always chopped up?
Nah, we already knew going in we're gonna give him almost like 2 to 3 different stories. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? So, that's how I wanted to pitch it to me. He's like, yo, just picture, a situation where, it's starting off slow, just kind of describe what that looking like, and then pick it up when the beat switches. And right away, I knew what story would go perfect with this beat. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
as you heard in the song, we start off. I'm kicking it with the homies. We get the phone call. We about to go chill. Um, and then we kicking it. Now we show up to the spot, and now the beat switches up because now it's about to go down. Now it's a whole different vibe. We went from kicking it, chilling. Let's
Mm-hmm.
go hang out with the shorties. I'm with my guys. We getting lit, blah blah blah. And now things went all the way left. We forgot what
Mm-hmm.
neighborhood we were in, and it wasn't ours. You know what I mean? But we're not gonna fold, man, because in the streets, that's one thing. You gotta be who you are, regardless of what neighborhood you're in. I mean, only the real ones were like that. You know what I'm saying? Like some guys, they only acted tough, and they were only about that life when they were comfortable in their neighborhoods. But if you really like that, you're the same person no matter where you go. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, that got us in trouble though.
Mm-hmm.
We got we got our butts whipped that night.
Um, initially, I was having issues with this beat. I don't think YP. I don't think you know that, but
Yeah.
initially, I was having issues with the first part of the beat because I'm like, I chose a sample, and then I'm chopping the sample, and I'm like, yo, this is not coming out the way I want it. And I went to sleep, and I was like, let me go to sleep, man. Like, woke up the next day, opened up my laptop again, and I'm like, all right, let me figure this out. And then what did I do? I think I went on Splice, and Splice was like, I'm going through stuff, and Splice has a multiplicity of things. It's like when you go to a restaurant and they have like this big menu, and you're like, man, like I don't know what to eat because the menu's so extensive. It was that kind of situation for me. So I'm like, so then I saw this one particular. I said, let me click on this, and it just so happened randomly, and I heard the perfect sample for the first part of the beat, and I pitched it up, I slowed it down, pitched it up, um, found the drums, um, and then I did the bass line on it, played the keys on it, and then I already had the sample for the second part of the beat, and the third part of the beat. I already had the samples for that, and I just basically kind of chopped it up to that. And then when I finally sent it to Heck, I was like, "Yo," like he said, I pitched the story the same way that he told you. We got in the studio. The part that was not part of the beat was the keys at the end. That was impromptu at the end. Like we were in the studio, and I remember it was Grizzy. Shouts to Grizzy. Um, YP, myself, and Gabe, and we were recording, and we're in the studio, and the last beat, it was extended like almost 2 minutes and a half or something like that, while he was telling the story, and I'm like, yo, Gabe, cut the beat right here and play like an A minor chord or something, And immediately Gabe went in there and just play what you hear at the end of the beat. He played those chords at the end of the beat, and I was like, "Yo, that's it right there. Like that's a perfect ending to this song." Um, because I said, "Don't worry about it, because there's a resolution to the song with the next song.
Yep.
But this is the end right here. This is the end." And
Yeah.
that's how we put together that song.
Yeah, and then that next day interlude. I mean, I literally wrote in my notes. This feels like an epilogue to the last song. And it had like that. You go from that do like deep bass into the keys, and then the next day kind of feels like a Kanye piano style. Like it just flowed well. It fit. It was very cohesive sounding. I love that the way you capped that off.
Word.
I'll throw a song out there, Swiss. I'll throw a song out there. So I told this to YP in the chat when he sent me the tracks through and I was listening to it. Bouquet was one that really jumped out at me because it felt like it could have been like an opening track for the record, right? Or for the album. But it was in the middle. So it almost played this part of kind of like resetting just your ears a little bit going into the second half, right? So I mean, like when you're eating food and you have like that palate cleanser or whatever. I feel like Bouquet kind of did that in this album. It played that role. Like, was that an intentional choice with that? I mean, was it like what led to for it being in the sequence that it was in? Whoever wants to take it.
Damn, it's raining over there.
Yeah, it's coming down.
If I remember correctly, I think we went to the studio to listen to the track listing, and before we chose the order of the track listing, like how we were gonna put the songs together. I brought my list. I said, "Yo, hey guys, consider." I said, "Listen, I have an idea how to put this album together from track 1 through 11. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You know what I mean?" And so I brought a piece of paper and I told Gabe, Gabe, play this track. And then I told him play the next track, and in the order that I had it. And Bouquet just so happened to fall in that order. But I think the music, not so much the content, but the music felt right in the order that it was when we played it in the way that I had it already in my head. Because the content is still Hector, but it's a little bit later in, like, later on in the chronological life of Hector. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it just felt like the music felt right in that particular order. I don't think it was anything special. Thank God that the guys agreed, because the album from track 1 through 11 was exactly how I brought it to the studio, and they agreed. Yo, this is it. Like,
that's dope.
Well, but I mean, that is important, right? That organization of the tracks, right? Especially when you're talking about a concept record where it has to fit, it has to flow. And if even one of those tracks is out of place, it's easy to catch it, right? And I think it did end up in a perfect spot, because, like I say, it really gives your ears kind of a little bit of a breather, because it's a little bit lighter than the rest. YP, what was your thoughts? Like, or what were you thinking when he was like presenting the order?
Yeah, so I didn't know Bouquet was gonna go where it went at first. I was just writing to it, and that's what came to me. And I was telling Wanda, I'm like, yo, since it's a Hector album, I like that we're giving them a lot of my past, but I want to sprinkle in some things that I'm going through now, some
Hmm.
stories that I feel like I could share with the people now that a lot of people could connect with as well. And he was like, yeah, no doubt, let's do that. And so that's where Bouquet came into play. Because if you notice, like Bouquet and Everyday, those tracks specifically, some of those topics are more current, actually. And it's just, I talk about being a husband, being a dad, and the trials that come with that at times, and the ups and downs, um, being in those roles as a father, as a husband, the mistakes that I've made. Because like I said, I felt like it was an album about me, so I wanted to give them the past and then give them an update of some things that I went through in my adult, uh, you know, era or adult stages, so that people could connect with this project from all angles. You know,
Hmm.
and I think because of the sound of the beat, it fits perfect where it's at. And I think with this one, we too, I believe, we wanted to give it like that interlude feel. Uh, so I wanted to sound light and tight again. Uh, you know, so I felt like we nailed it.
And also, if you think about it, it's almost like a Back to the Future type of track.
Yeah.
And if you listen to Bouquet, he's in the future, but then he goes backwards to Party on 38th, talking about why he went to the party because it was an invitation from some females.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yep.
like this is him right now, right? But as an adult, and then he just kind of like Marty McFly's back
Yep.
uh
Yep.
to the reason
That
why
was my
he.
favorite thing on the album is that you kept doing that throughout the whole album, though.
Hmm.
Like it made it so cohesive. It made it so. I'm such a story guy. Like everyone at work hates me because I will like rip their favorite thing because their story has plot holes in it, or they like break rules, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Like if it's a bad script, it's a bad script. And like this is an example of good script writing. Was this album, and I think too, something that I haven't gotten to touch on yet. I wouldn't even just go into this isn't necessarily going into a song, Eric, but more of a theme is every song still resolves with him recognizing how important Christ is and how it's changed his outlook, and like you can every single song you don't leave that out. And so that's really
Yep.
where all glory goes. And then I
Hmm.
think too, um, it's just another. I don't want to use it. I don't want to say Jesus juke, but it's a good way to testify your story to somebody and say, "Hey, this is what I went through. By the way, this is what's changed that, and that could change for you too." And it's just so much wisdom in there, in
Yep.
every single song. And so that goes for Bouquet. That goes for every track because I mean, even some of the things you were saying in Bouquet about just being a husband, it's like, man, I relate to
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
Yeah.
from Dallas, Texas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned every day just a couple minutes ago too. Like,
Yep.
dude, like every day was another one that really stood out to me. I don't know, Swiss. I let's love to hear your thoughts on it. But what I wrote down was like classic hip hop, and I didn't mean like it belongs back, in a bygone decade or something. I mean like if someone had never heard hip hop, this is a track I could play for them to understand what hip hop is.
mhm.
So I would love for you to talk a little bit more about it, or I'd like to hear whoever
Yeah.
weigh in. But and that was
Yeah.
definitely another standout for me.
Nah, word. Nah, I appreciate that. E. That's one of my favorites, actually. That Every Day is probably my favorite record. Uh, On My Way grew on me to be one of my top records, but Every Day I think is still top for me. But yeah, same thing. I talk about some stuff that I went through as an adult, and a lot of these things too, like Every Day, Bouquet. I'm actually saying how the reckless decisions I've made as a young man has followed me into adulthood. There was like some knots that I still needed to untie. There were some things I needed to unlearn. You know what I mean? So every day embodies that. Because, it's like I'm talking about, the stuff that I went through in my marriage, in my first marriage, some stuff I went through in my second marriage. Um, and, I spoke to my wife about it and I said, look, some things I want to talk about. She's like, look, this is about your life. It is what it is. You do what you got to do. If you feel like the Lord's moving on your heart to talk about these things, then talk about it. I talk about, what how these decisions are going to affect my future as far as my sons when they get older and the conversations they're going to want to have with me. Um, and in the hook, man, I just talk about like, yo, every day, you know what I mean? Like it's a battle, every day, and I'm a believer that spiritual warfare is real. And I believe that, yeah, our worst enemy is ourselves, and we deal with, our imperfect nature as humans.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Our rebellious nature as humans, even being redeemed. But we also have, demons who attack us, who know that we're already being enticed by these sins, who are throwing those fiery darts. You know what I mean? And it was just like a cry out, and it's my way of letting people know, like, yo, every day this is a war. Like, yeah, I'm talking from a place of like freedom, but don't get it twisted. It's still a battle. You know what I mean? Like every day we still fighting. And then in the second verse, I talk about, my sons and how I want to prepare them for this everyday battle, spiritually and physically, So yeah, man, every day is one of my favorite records. And shout out to Wanda because he was like, yo, what you want? Let's put a hook on it. And I'm like, Dad, yo, what should I do to this hook? And he was like, yo, think about 50, he's like, yo, I hear 50. Um, Many
Many
men,
men,
yeah,
which pass
wish death
upon me.
upon me, and I my life. So I'm like, word, yo, that's perfect. And I just kind of flipped it, and you got what you got, man. Every day,
Mm-hmm.
devils want to kill me, they want to take my life. You know what I mean? So, and then in the record, I said, and the only the real could feel me. And the record, I'm like, if I die, will they cry for me? Like, will people know my flaws and judge me and erase all the good I've done,
Mm.
or will they know like, yo, this is a narrow road that we live on. Yo, life is life could throw you curveballs, and it ain't always peaches and cream. Some days you feel up, some days you feel down. It's like a roller
Yeah.
coaster, and so only the real are gonna really feel me and feel this record and feel this hook right here. You know what
Yeah,
I
that
mean?
hook
So,
was fire, man. That hook's super catchy.
And that was supposed. It's funny because that was the first track we recorded, and
yeah,
it wasn't even supposed to be like an album cut. It was supposed to be a promotional track for the album.
Mm.
Hey, Hector's coming,
right.
and we listened to the whole album, and I'm like, nah, this track gotta go on the album. And
Word up.
yeah, like we just it just could not it couldn't exist outside of the record, the whole album, the body of work. But that initially that was the first track we recorded, and it was just supposed to be like a promotional track for the album that we were record. We're gonna, almost like a trailer to a movie,
Mm, word up.
and
Hey,
yeah, and it
I
just
won't be
ended up.
mad if y'all put out a couple more singles. You could always do
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
mean, 'cause I
Deluxe, Hector Deluxe.
right? Because I mean, with
Ooh,
like every day, and then
ooh,
on my way was one for me as well, right? Like, I mean, on my way, I could easily see that as a single because it felt like perhaps the most like complete song to me,
Mm,
if that makes sense.
Interesting.
that's
Like, I
mm.
felt
interesting.
like
Yeah.
there was just these little very
Do you mean in the structure, like because of the hook and like?
yeah
'Cause I could see it from that point of view. Like this song has like the more like radio single
yeah
sound to it as far as
Oh yeah,
like
definitely.
the structure of it.
yeah
That
Um,
makes sense.
Definitely,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Yo, you on point, Swiss. You on point too, because Doc was like, yo, so what record do you want me to pitch? What's gonna be record number 2 before this album drops? And I told them On My Way. And On My Way actually
Mhm.
landed on a huge playlist. Um, it landed on a huge playlist, and it's because it has that radio feel to it. It has like that. It's like the most commercial record on the album, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why at first it wasn't my favorite, because I knew it was like the single record, the one that they would consider the quote unquote hit. You know what I mean? Like the one that is gonna get on the, the big playlist with all the other, you know, radio poppy records. So that's why it wasn't my favorite at first. But
But
when
I'm
I really
glad you led with Chase. I'm glad you led with
yeah,
Chase
yeah,
though over that.
yeah, yeah, led with Chase.
Yeah.
I
Chase
felt like
Chase reminded me of ATF from DMX because it had all the sound effects in the background. You remember that song, dude? Dude, I love that song. And
I
the
was
Chase,
in high school when that album dropped.
same, bro. That's a true story. I'm not even kidding. My parents wouldn't let me listen to rap music when I was a kid, and I would. We had off campus lunch in high school, and I would save up my lunch money, and instead of eating, I would go to Tower Records and buy rap albums. And the first one I bought was that DMX album.
wow.
I was a sophomore in high school.
That dude, man, he was that dude, man. DMX, he gave a lot of people problems when he dropped, man.
Yeah, man. Rest in
That man
peace.
dropped 2
Rest
classics
in
in
peace.
1 year.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah,
did.
yeah. The only artist to do that, right? In 1 year.
Nas
Hip
did
hop.
it in '99, but it wasn't that great. But it's my
Yeah.
He
opinion,
dropped
yeah.
2,
He dropped
2
2 in
number 1.
'99. Not
Or it
2
was 2
number
big.
one, but 2
No,
albums in the same year.
yeah, but no, I'm talking about he dropped 2 number 1s in the same year.
Oh no! I think actually
I
the
think
only
he
one
holds
that I
on to
know.
that. Yeah, I think he holds the crown for that.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could be wrong. We gotta Google that, but I
Yeah,
think
because how close were man now I'm totally off topic, but how close were All Eyes on Me and Machiavelli? I can't remember.
90. Who was 90?
oh
My All Eyes on Me was 96,
Uh-huh.
and Machiavelli I think was the year after because he died in '97.
Yeah, but I feel like it came out less than a year after it though. I'll do a little I could be wrong on that. It's been a
Yeah,
minute. But
it came out a year or less than a year after, but he passed away in
you might have
'96.
some there, E.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
look. You continue talking about On My Way. How about that?
Yo, but shout out to John Joe the Bond Servant
Mm-hmm.
for coming through heavy on the hook and the verse. The only feature, oh no, besides Gabe, the only rap feature on the project. Um, yo,
And that
on
was
my way.
intentional, by the way.
Yeah, that was intentional, man. On my way, when Wanda said, "Yo, I think that you should talk about, you know, what you were known for when you were running around and some of the things that you experienced on this record, and then John, I need you to tap in to that, that trapper mindset, the drug dealer. I need you to be that guy on this record. You know what I mean? And tie it all together in the end, where your stories meet. Uh, and so John actually had a different hook going into the studio. He didn't have the verse yet. He just had the hook, and he sang the hook for us, and it was real like worshipy and praisey, and we were like,
That's not it.
nah,
That's not it.
this
Yeah.
ain't it for this album, bro. Like, nah. And we were like, yo, we love that. That's what you do, but not for this record. And Wanda was like, yo, I need you to rewind a little bit and get in that bag. You know what I'm saying?
Give
When
him
you
a
had the
whole
ounces
speech.
on the table, when you was moving them plates, you know what I mean? When you had a call to connect, like I need you to get in that bag. And yo, he was like, all right, bet I got you. We left him alone for a little bit. He got in his zone, and that hook came together.
Yeah, we so, originally the name of the song or the concept of the song was like something like my drug dealer friend or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And Yeah, like YP said, he came in the studio with something. I'm like, nah, that's not it, bro. And he and he's like, yo, so what you looking for? I said, I need Merc.
Yeah.
His name was Jay Merc, and I was like, yo, I need Merc, bro. And he's like, you trying to make me backslide? And I'm like, nah, bro. I'm like, nah, bro. I said, I need you to be that authentic dude. I need you to talk that thing that you were to Hector on the streets. That's how y'all met, right? So I need you to
Yeah.
do that. And then you're able to reconcile it at the end of the song. But right now, I need you to be that guy. And
Mm.
and he sat there. He came with this different thing, and he's like, yo, I'm hearing something like Halo. And then everybody started like saying little things here and there, and then we left
Yeah.
him alone. Next, you know, he had he
Yeah.
had the chorus for it. He had
Man,
the hook.
I want to be a fly on the wall in those type of sessions. Like that's the kind of stuff that I love hearing about. Is like, yeah, we were just
Yeah.
sitting in a room and we were trying to figure it out. We just started throwing stuff on the wall, and then like that. Sometimes but that's like good collaboration. Like,
Yeah.
how do you set a scene or an environment that creates good collaboration between you and your people? Like,
Yep.
right? Like if I'm sitting with my film guys at work, like we're talking about nerdy films as we're like getting ready to like do something. Like for
Yeah.
y'all, it's like, hey, I need you to get back into this headspace. Let's go back, and maybe you're telling stories and like, hey, remember this
Yeah.
time, and then like that's the stuff that like the process is about, right? Like that I love diving into and hearing about. And like, man, if I ever get to that point where Big Swiss, maybe when I'm done with seminary, I like can put a lot more time into Big Swiss stuff. But that'd be the thing that I want to capture on film is like go into people's studios and be like, I'm just gonna film your process and like cut documentaries of like that specific thing. That's the thing that fascinates me about even just being able to create a record is putting the people in the room to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
man.
that's my bad,
No, I was gonna
Pat.
say when we start working on the next one, man, we're gonna have to, have you come out for at least one. You heard, Swiss?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I'll fly out.
Yeah, man. For one of them sessions, man, you got to come out, man. That'll be fire.
I'd
But
love
go ahead,
that.
blood. What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say that it's funny you say that, Swiss, because the thing is, I think of music as movies or
Yeah.
movie
When
scores. Like
I hear a song, I think, what would I do as a music video? Every single song that I listen to,
yeah,
I will think in that tone.
yeah, and I think about how you can make that song. Like remember, YP, you remember that I the last time the way that I answered the question in terms of how the music is put together, it was like you can make a Netflix
Oh
series out
yeah,
of, and that's what I was thinking. I when I and it's funny because I don't. The reason why I haven't produced for so many people is because of me, and it's because it's not because I haven't had the opportunity because these guys always push me like, yo, I got this, but I'm like, I can't. I feel like I can't do it for someone else that I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know them, and I need to know what it is that I'm making the music for, right?
Hmm.
Because imagine if John Williams was not the conductor, music conductor, and the composer for Star Wars,
Yeah.
like, or Jaws, or some of these, or even some of these classic films.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same. That Superman theme song from the original Super. It's not. It wouldn't be the same. It would not be the same Superman movie. And it's like I could not. I can't be that John Williams to someone else other than YP. Because
I
we because
respect
we've
that.
done we've done other projects. I mean, that's how we started. We did cold
Cold
cuts
cuts.
and we did cold cuts, and after cold cuts we did God Forgives.
Hmm.
And I was beating myself up because I'm like, how am I gonna do these records because I'm in a different place. Those were different times, and I'm in a different place now. So now I have to produce a record, an album that I had a whole spiel over the phone, and I'm like, bro, like this is what you got to do, bro, and I'm all excited, like, yeah, I got, and then now I'm home, like, yo, I gotta do this now, and but I just feel like I'm supposed to be producing for him, and when I think of the production and when he writes to the records, listening it's like listening to a Netflix production or like a whole like you can make a whole show out of somebody's songs.
Yeah, well, and that's why it's so important, or I think that's why your relationship with YP, the how far y'all go back, I think that's why you're able to make such cohesive sounding music, right? Like I think of Naladeus and Soy Israel's project earlier this year, Backpacks and Snapbacks.
Fire Project.
Fire Project.
Fire.
Those guys go way back. They've known each other for like 15 years, right? And so when they're collaborating, like it bleeds through in the project, and that happened here. And it's like, I feel like I came out of the project knowing YP even like on a more personal level than we do now. And so it wouldn't have been possible without the type of production that was behind it.
Facts. 100.
Well, the interns slipped me a note while you guys were talking. We got interns. All Eyes on Me and Machiavelli, both in '96, my friends.
Ooh.
February and November. So,
Wow.
I feel like Outkast knew what they were talking about when they said '96 gonna be that year. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, man. So the new album is Hector. YP, aka Young Paul, executive produced by Wander Beats.
Yep.
You want some more in-depth conversation or some more in-depth insight into it, some more breakdown, make sure you jump over to Big Swiss's channel. Check out his half day video over there.
I cut it down to 20 minutes.
You know. Settle in on that one. But no, like, or if you don't want to hear what we have to say, because who cares what we think, go and listen to the album yourself. Make up your own minds.
Word.
Where are they going to do that, YP? Where do they tap in, support, all that good stuff?
Yeah. Man, you could listen to the album on all digital platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, YouTube, all of those platforms, Tidal, Pandora, and you just type in YP, aka Young Paul. You know what I mean? It'll be the latest project, Hector. You see me and my friends on the cover. Classic photo of us chilling on 60th. And and enjoy the experience with us. You can follow me on Instagram at YP, aka Young Paul. Wander Beats. Bro, what's your at Produce, PROD?
Produced by Wander Beats, yeah.
I produced by PROD, not the whole produce. It's PROD dot, right?
I don't even know, bro.
PROD dot Wander Beats.
You don't follow, you know when we used to say, hey, I don't know my phone number because I don't call myself, now it's like I don't follow myself on social media.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, man, y'all, Eric, I appreciate y'all having us. Big Swiss, you already know I love when you tapped in, bro. Really appreciate y'all, brothers, man.
Thank you.
Hey, and we got to give you a shout out before we sign off here, because the fact that Big Swiss is on here at all really kind of goes back to you, man.
Yeah, man, I knew you guys would be perfect.
I told Swiss the other day, I was like, man, if we live together, I feel like we'd be the bestest friends.
If we live together, bro, I am moving in with you.
Like if we lived in the same town, right, or close enough that we could hang out. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we'd be like BFFs forever and stuff.
Well, I knew, Eric. I knew you guys were pretty much looking for some guys that knew what they were talking about, that would help the team out. And I'm like, I recommended Swiss and my boy DYP, and I forget who else. And I was just like, man, I feel like they would be a great addition to the platform, because they're really tapped in. Like, they're not just Like they really know what they're talking about. They know the latest projects that are coming out. They know who's hot. They make good critiques, and I just think that you guys would work well together. And it seems I'm a prophet, man.
It's going. It's going okay. It's going okay.
Yeah, I might be moving out there soon. Who knows?
Oh,
Oh
dang.
wow, look at that.
There we go. But hey, shout out to everyone that's been hanging out with us here tonight. If you're watching this on the replay, make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments for us. Again, go to FiveTwentyCollective.com. Check out everything we got going on there. While you're there, drop your email in our newsletter subscription. You want to make sure you're getting the latest, greatest right directly to your inbox. We love that. So, Swiss, any final words?
No, man, go support the project. Man, this is one that I mean, as I'm looking at my vinyls on the wall behind me here, this is one I wish was on vinyl because one, the album art is dope. It would definitely go up, and two, it's a classic. It's got the classic album feel to it. So I think this one's going to be dipped back into several times over the next few years.
So what he's saying, YP, is stop being cheap and get them vinyls pressed up.
Yo, it's funny. Shout out to my man Shamir, man. We might be working on that next. Let's see.
Sick,
Let's see.
Dude. Hey, you make them, I'll buy them. Like I've literally every single Christian hip hop artist who's pressed a vinyl in 2022, I bought.
Yeah.
Like I'll buy it.
Doubt.
Get it
No
on
doubt.
CD for me, okay? Because that's in the car.
If I get it on vinyl, you got to purchase it. You over here pulling my leg.
I can purchase it, but I don't have a record player, dude. Like for real. Okay, I know we need to wrap up, but
it's good merch.
I was
it's good
legitimately
merch.
standing in Target earlier today, and I had Fuji's The Score in my hand.
Oh man,
They had it
Jersey.
They had it priced at $12.50. I almost feel like I got to go back and get it, dude.
oh
You should.
Yeah,
Go buy it and send it to me.
Right? Hey, Wonder
As a
Beast,
good-
man. Wonder Beast, thank you for hanging out with us, dude. It's good meeting you. Getting plugged
Yeah,
in. Don't
man.
be a stranger.
man, I appreciate you guys, man. I'm usually the very shy individual in front of the camera. YP knows this. I like to stay behind the scenes, but we're coming with more, with more stuff, and just stay tuned. We got a lot more coming, and hopefully we're back and to talk about it and talk about what we have coming up. But we have a lot of great things. We already have something recorded.
Oh, I was gonna say, if I know YP, you guys are probably gonna drop something like next week. So.
Yo, listen, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. We got a whole EP already recorded, and we got Guillotines 3 recorded.
Oh,
Dang.
I mean,
Okay.
you heard it here first.
Make sure you're subscribed so you get the notification when we're going live and talking about that. Okay. Here at 520.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that one.
You know what it is? Indie Christian culture. Thank you for hanging out. Let's go.